creaking doors, cold wind in a closed room, strange figures moving in the shadows. For centuries, haunted houses have aroused our fear and curiosity. Yet the most haunted place in America may not be a house at all, but instead a retired aircraft carrier. The USS Hornet. She logged 30 years of faithful service before being decommissioned in 1970. Then, after years of sitting in mothballs, the Hornet opened as a floating museum in 1998. Ever since, there have been scores of strange occurrences reported, such as the ship's controls moving on their own, as well as disembodied footsteps and voices.
Right below the flight deck, there was a voice that said, "Over here," and that was witnessed by a number of people.
Other times, people claim to have seen apparitions.
There's probably in excess of 40 people that have seen spirits or apparitions or whatever you want to call them. And in 4 instances, which is really interesting, 2 people at the same time saw the apparition.
Bob Rogers works at the USS Hornet, which is now a museum in Alameda, California. According to Rogers, the Hornet served in the Pacific during World War II, where its aircraft sunk a record 73 enemy ships. Although the Hornet was attacked 59 times, incredibly, it was never hit by a single bomb, torpedo, or kamikaze. Rogers has heard many stories about the Hornet and the sailors who forged an enduring bond in the crucible of battle.
This was a very loved ship when she was in operation.
But Rogers was skeptical about stories of ghosts. That is, until the day he saw one himself.
I've seen a man go down to the engine room, and I got down there and there was no one there. All the spirits that we've had on the ship, and they aren't willowy or wispy, they're people. They look just like regular people.
Rogers came to believe that the ghosts on board were real, but he also wondered why they were haunting the ship. To help answer this question, Rogers contacted well-known psychic Stosh Murray.
In my wildest dreams, I never thought I'd be contacting a psychic.
But Murray earned Rogers' trust on her first visit to the Hornet, when she saw a vision of the engineering log room, which had been sealed shut for some time.
Stosh Murray described that room without ever seeing it.
I was compelled to come into this area because of the fact that I felt the entity's absolute desperation.
Now, Murray acts as a psychic ambassador between the crew and the spirits who welcomed her aboard.
I had asked permission to board the ship, followed protocol. It was granted. They wanted me to come. They knew what was going on. We had agreed. It was a mind-to-mind telepathic communication that was understood.
To help Murray in her psychic research, Bob Rogers enlisted renowned paranormal investigator Loyd Auerbach, who employs scientific equipment that complements Murray's abilities.
The best detectors of this phenomena are human beings. That's how we define it. What we're using equipment for is to determine whether or not there's something in the physical environment we can corroborate the human experience with.
One of Auerbach's key tools is the magnetometer, a device that responds to magnetic energy, the energy field that some experts believe ghosts emit. One chilly fall evening, Auerbach and Murray allow our cameras to accompany them on board the Hornet for a special research project. For the first time ever, a group of volunteers who have never been on board the ship are being tested to see if they experience any reaction to the supernatural forces reported to haunt the carrier's historic decks.
We have multiple witnesses, constant happenings, new happenings, and that gives me kind of a living laboratory. I just want you to walk around each of the spots. If you get anything, in other words, if you feel weirdness, any change in your state of being, so to speak, just go ahead and jot it down.
So far, the group hasn't experienced any strong, unexplained reactions. Meanwhile, Murray guides us to one of the ship's most powerful hotspots, the Hornet's medical facilities.
Let me tell you something. What we're entering is very significant and important because many lives here had incredible experiences.
Most of the 300 servicemen who died on board over the years died here, and Murray claims she can still feel their pain.
Swear to God, I don't want to be heebie-jeebie, but you can feel it. Literally.
But then, something strange happens.
The energy. I'll tell you, give me your hand real quick. You'll feel it. That's what we're, yes. It's for real, isn't it?
Our camera equipment becomes unstable. Strange blue lines appear that can't be explained. Could this be a sign of a paranormal occurrence?
There are specific ones, I would say, a good 15 or 20 that I know are specifically here on a routine basis.
One of them is Admiral J.J. Clark, Jocko Clark, who was aboard the ship during World War II, and he was identified by people having seen the apparition and looking at the photos.
According to Murray, another ghost on board has earned a notorious reputation.
It just, it feels like he's very flirty.
He's very flirty. He wants to dance with you very badly, doesn't he?
I'm not dancing.
He wants to dance with you, and he's very flirty. He's shy.
Recently, a museum worker complained about the ghost, and the spirit of Admiral Clark was asked to step in.
We had one situation where a receptionist was having problems with a sailor who was apparently inappropriate with her. And at one point, Stash and I decided that the best thing to do would be to talk to Clark or one of the other officers and get him to order the other ghost to lay off, and he did, at least for a couple weeks.
After the tour of psychic hotspots is ended, Auerbach questions his volunteers.
But I want to just kind of get a feel for what you guys got. Did anybody pick up anything unusual as we were walking through?
Yeah, I did. I felt like there was somebody walking with us. I felt a little dizzy, and this is actually the second time that I felt a hand on my back sort of assisting me over the doorways.
Bunks there behind the damaged lockers, that's where I felt. As I started to step toward it, it was like there was someone standing back there, and they didn't want me to come any closer, so I just backed away.
Finally, Auerbach and Murray bring the group to the main focal point of the Hornet's spiritual energy, the hangar bay. They ask them to sit in a circle as they try to attract some of the ghosts.
We're going to try and kind of use us as a focal point. We have the music playing because we know that these guys lived aboard the ship during the 1940s, and we want to try to give them some sort of familiar setting for this.
According to Murray, she uses her psychic abilities to transform the circle into a kind of spirit magnet that will attract the ghosts.
What we're going to do is draw their energy in closer, okay? So I'm going to go like this and face yours to each other, one another, okay? We're going to use energy work here, just like we're using the music to draw them in. You can feel that.
As the exercise unfolds, Auerbach's magnetometer begins to react, indicating the sudden presence of a magnetic energy field.
Feel it. The buzzers are going off. Apparently we brought it in. That's successful. That's pretty hot stuff.
In the 3 years since she first visited the USS Hornet, Stash Murray believes her work may have changed some minds.
During the period that I've been working on the Hornet, it's been absolutely tremendous, because what's happened is skeptics and believers have encountered paranormal activity. So minds are opened and pathways are open.
But the question that has still lingered in everyone's mind is why? Why are the spirits of long-dead servicemen haunting the Hornet?
I think what's special about the ship is that it reminds them of a time in their lives when there was that kind of camaraderie, something that they never had again after that.
But Bob Rogers believes the ghostly servicemen are trying to deliver a message.
I think the message that the spirits are trying to say is that Hornet is a monument to peace. They want to tell the story of the 20th century of what they went through on the ship.
Auerbach hopes that lively haunted places like the Hornet will make us all think a bit more about life and what it means to be human.
This stuff is not harmful. In fact, this should attack your sense of wonder. If you think about it, what this says is that human beings are more than just this body.
But can you communicate with something that has no body? Some believe you can, with a little psychic help.